Hi guys, today I want to talk to you about documenting your work, keeping track of your ideas, and recording all those little details about the things that you make. Hi guys, thank you guys so much for being here today. My name is Felicia Lowe from SweetGeorgia Yarns, and every Friday I come here and talk about the things that I'm making, the things that I'm working on, and things that are happening at SweetGeorgia, and all of those kinds of crafty things. Today, since I have kind of just a little bit of progress to show you, not very much, but I'm still working on my sweater here. I'm about 10 inches into the body. I still have a ways to go. So I thought that wouldn't be too interesting to talk about, but what I wanted to talk to you about today was something that I have started doing in the past couple of weeks, and it's related to keeping track of my projects. So as you can see, I have here this stack of diaries and journals. These are journals that I've had since I was a kid, and so this is just a handful of them. This is not all of them, but I have been, since I was a child, a documenter. I write down everything in my journal about things that happened during the day, people that I talked to, people that I met, and I've been doing this since I don't know how long. Let me see. This is my first diary ever, and it says, there's stickers on it. It says private, keep out. It has a piece of handmade paper that I made when I was a kid, made in 1987. And so my first ever entry was 1984, June the 12th, 1984. And it was about having a picnic with my classmates at school. But ever since that day, I have written in about a gazillion of these journals. I documented all throughout high school, documented all through university. And then when I started knitting more intensely after university, I didn't put my knitting stuff in these journals or in these diaries. And instead, because I was sort of seeking an opportunity to connect with other people who were also doing knitting, who were also making things. I wanted to know about what other people's details were, the details and the intricacies of the projects that they were working on. If we were working on the same project, I wanted to know what modifications they made. I wanted to know what yarn they used, all of those kinds of things. And so rather than writing them down in a paper journal like this, it made more sense to start a blog, being, what year was it, 2004, to be able to set up a blog where I could write about the details that I was doing with my projects so that I could connect with other people and their projects. So that's what I did in 2004. Started this blog about knitting. And over the years, that blog obviously grew, and then it became sort of a business idea. So it became SweetGeorgia, and then we make yarn and we dye yarn and all of these kinds of things. And so now the blog tends to cover a little bit more of the business side of things and the actual yarn and stuff like that. Because SweetGeorgia is not just me anymore. SweetGeorgia is a team of people. We're a team of people. We're like 12 to 16 people on most days. And SweetGeorgia is kind of like it has all of these other people involved in it. And so it didn't seem appropriate necessarily to continue, writing posts about my personal projects on SweetGeorgia. So for the past couple of years, I've been kind of trying to figure out, well, where do I put this information? Where do I put progress, like the works in progress of the things that I'm making? Where do I put it? If I don't put it on the SweetGeorgia blog anymore, where does it go? And so for a long time I was thinking, do I start my own personal blog? Do I start my own separate craft blog? All these kinds of things. And so I did. I started my own separate Instagram account maybe 2 years ago. And so I started to put a couple of my personal projects on Instagram and things like that. But then over time, I've discovered that Instagram and putting things out there in a very public space and, in a very social media space, it's no longer, it doesn't feel anymore like it's purely about connecting and sharing. There is a lot of competitiveness to it all. Maybe that there was with blogging too, maybe I just didn't notice. But because it's such a visual medium, it's become really important to the algorithm to be producing photographs and work in progress photos that are just exactly perfect, so that way people not only read the information, see the information, access the information, but they're like somehow absorbed into your ethos or something like that. So I don't know if you feel this, but I feel a significant amount of pressure around posting things on Instagram, that they have to be perfect, that they have to be shot perfectly, that they have to just have so much stuff attached to them. It just feels really heavy. It feels like kind of a bit of a burden. And it shouldn't. It should feel like, I'm sharing things that I made and I'm having fun with it. So in light of all of that, I decided to kind of go backwards and go maybe anti-Instagram in my crafting, my personal crafting. And I started a journal specifically for my knitting and for my weaving and for my making projects, but it's a journal that is not public. And that seems kind of like an odd thing in this day and age, to not be sharing stuff. So I'll tell you how this all came about. You can see all the journals here. I've been always writing, always documenting on paper, manually. And, a couple of years ago, my last handwritten craft journal was this one. And so in here, there's like tons of different weaving pattern ideas, different studio ideas, just all sorts of craft ideas were in this tiny little notebook that is like super water damaged and the cover is missing and all of this kind of stuff. So this was the last craft journal that I really made. Since that time, since I had kids and everything like that, I didn't really have time to sit down and write a lot long form before bedtime. Not sure really why that happened. But what did happen was, after I had kids, I was with my phone like all the time. And so in the middle of the night, if I was breastfeeding and it was dark, I would be able to, surf my phone and things like that. And I found that in the past 5 years, I started to write little notes to my kids. I would write little letters to my babies. And I would write to them about, what was going on or what was happening that day, or what I found really challenging. And I wrote all of these little stories down for my kids, and I put them into this app, which is a journal app. And so the journal app that I've been using on my phone for the past 5 years is called Day One. And Day One has been upgraded over the past couple of years to also include the ability to have multiple journals. So now I have a journal that's just all my family stuff and all the day-to-day, what's been happening. And I have a journal where I track all of the milestones and things that we've been doing for SweetGeorgia. And I've started a separate journal, a third journal, which is specifically just for crafting. So the reason why I like using that Day One app is that it's so incredibly easy to use. I feel like it's easier to use than Instagram. You just pick a couple photos from your photo stream, anything that you've taken, any photos that you've taken during the day, you can just highlight a couple of those photos and then pop them into Day One and then just write a sentence, 2 sentences, whatever. That's it. And it will record things like the date and the time based on the date and the time of the photo that you took. It will record the weather that it was that day. It'll record whether you were walking that day, whether you were active that day. It has a lot of metadata in the background that you can or don't need to look at if you don't want to. Really, it's just my way of recording a handful of images and a little bit of text. And I found that over time, having this sort of reference build up over the years has been wonderful, because then, any given day I'll be reminded that on this day 3 years ago, this is what was happening. And it triggers things in your mind, and it makes you think back to, what you were going through, what kind of a person you were back then, if things have changed, if things have improved, if things have been the same, just all of these kinds of things I feel like are wonderful to help your own progression or feel your own progress through life, or through making things, or through crafting, or through learning a new skill, all of these kinds of things. So I wanted to apply all the benefits of what I was experiencing through writing a personal journal on my phone, and to do that for my crafting. So I found that one of the best benefits out of this entire process so far is that it's very freeing. I don't feel the burden or the pressure of having to make sure that the photo is perfect or that the lighting is perfect or that it's like somehow attractive to other people. It is a snapshot and it's a record for me. I can record, what this sweater looks like right now, in the state that it is, and just make a few notes about that. And then next time I'll go back and I'll be able to remember my progress. I'll be able to remember, it took 21 days to knit 2 inches because, things are really, really hard or something like that. So it's been wonderful in that it's been less burden. It's been a weight off my shoulders, not having to share the details and present them in such a perfect way. Now, this journal becomes a reference just for me. It's just for me to track the details of what needle size I used, or what I found difficult, or maybe the technique that I did here or there, whatever it is. It's a way for me to document all of those little bits of works in progress and all those little thoughts in a format that I can really, really easily reference. I'm making these videos right now also to show and to share the things that I've made, but I feel like it's a little bit more interactive than just posting a nice picture on Instagram. Not to say that Instagram's bad. I love Instagram too. I'm just trying to find other ways of recording the things that I'm making without having to make everything so precious. So that is it for today. I have a very, very short video for you guys today because I'm sort of in strict monk mode right now and just working pretty much entirely on the School of SweetGeorgia all the time. So I'm making a very short video today, but I will let you know that in about a week or so, we are going to be releasing our next issue of Make and Hue on the SweetGeorgia website. And so if you have not heard of Make and Hue was basically our reorganization of the blog at SweetGeorgia this year. And then we sort of coalesced all of these blog posts into themed issues. So every quarter we release a new issue, which is centered around a theme. And this issue's theme is centered around the idea of light and lace. And part of the reason is because on Monday is my wedding anniversary again. And so I wanted to share how lace and how lace shawls and wedding shawls seem to really go together. So we talk about my wedding shawl, which is this one here. I show some pictures of this wedding shawl, and I wrote a little article about this. And we also have a couple of other guest posts from other knitters and crocheters who have made their own wedding shawls, and they are amazing and beautiful. So I hope that you guys will check it out. It's going to be on the SweetGeorgia website in a couple of weeks. You can check out the Make and Hue section of the website and then sign up to get notifications about when that actually gets released. So yeah, very short episode for you guys today. And I would actually really like to hear about, if you write a journal for your crafting stuff, if you put your, craft ideas in any sort of a notebook, or if you use Instagram for that purpose, or if you use Evernote for that purpose, or if you use Ravelry for that purpose, like how do you track all of the details and the ideas? And does it burden you to have to share things with other people, or do you keep it all private? I'm just very curious about this whole thing. Yeah, that's it for this week. I guess I will see you guys in the next one. So yeah, I guess that's it for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you liked this episode, please hit like. And if you would like to see more episodes in the coming weeks, please hit subscribe and you're going to be notified about when more videos come live. So I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye for now.